Issues, epics, and milestones. Keeping projects on track with GitLab, presented by me, Albert Hughes. I'm currently a technical project manager at a company called Lullaby that does large scale Drupal primarily based projects for large media companies, government agencies, universities um, using Drupal. I've been using Drupal since about 2007, 2008. I came up building websites in the late 90s. I had my first site up by 2000. It's been a lifelong journey ever since. I've managed projects and worked on web based solutions for agencies, universities, entertainment industry, and more. And right now, I'm managing a large scale Drupal project where I'm managing multiple people, multiple back-end developers, front-end developers, QA. It's a year long plus software project. And today we'll talk about GitLab because on that project I am using GitLab today. What we're not talking about is I'm not selling you on GitLab as the best tool. We'll talk about what is GitLab, how GitLab is different from other project management tools you may have used or heard, the features and functionality of GitLab when it pertains to managing projects, and then some use cases of how you can use GitLab to manage your project. What is GitLab? GitLab is the DevOps platform or a DevOps platform primarily used to manage software and then like plan it or like create issues around that software, creating or developing the software. You can verify and do automated testing of software. You can package it up, make sure that it's secure, and then release it to different hosting platforms or places where it can be consumed by the public. And those hosting in those environments you can send configuration for that. You can monitor and then you can protect this code. And in GitLab, you can do all this from one platform, the DevOps platform, GitLab. Here again, we're looking at like a development lifecycle or of software development lifecycle where you plan, create, and it's a continuous loop. And that's what GitLab allows you to do: automate a lot of these things and make a continuous cycle of development. It was founded as an open source collaboration tool for programmers in 2011. And then in 2021, they went public, $11 billion. So they turned open source to enterprise and was able to IPO. You can buy this. You can start for free as an individual to use in GitLab. For more teams, it's premium. They have other options. For you can manage your own project, but I can see for a large scale team could be very useful. You can do this as SaaS where they host. You just log in from the browser, or you can do self manage where you host and it requires a Linux experience and you have to understand managing hosting, but you can do that internally at your organization. Different companies and organizations around the world use GitLab, Goldman Sachs. They manage all their efforts from one UI. Their developers like it. Ticketmaster, they do their mobile app and it improves their build times and they're able to get information. Moving your code, Drupal start using it as a new modern place where developers can contribute. So a lot of people are starting to use and understand GitLab, especially from a code side. But I'm using it to manage projects, which is something that is new to, could be new to developers and on the scene. So how is GitLab managing projects in GitLab different from some other tools? So let's take the history. This is me popping a bottle of apple cider after taking a site live. I think this is back in about 2009, somewhere around there. And at that time, I was working at a company called Shipple, and we primarily did what you would call a waterfall style projects, where these were fixed bid. We were doing a web project for, hey, this is exactly what we're going to do. This is how long it's going to take, and this is how much it's going to cost. And when doing that, when our tool, if you can look behind me, I have a green folder right there on the desk. And at the time, that was one of our primary tools. Was we had a internal ticketing system, but the majority of the work was making sure that the items on that list in that folder uh, got checked off. And so this was us. Did we do a kickoff? Did we get some designs made? Were the designs approved? Did we implement the design? Did we get content from the client? Did we do QA? Did we check the DNS? Then is the site live? So we would just use that checkbox, and it worked great. And I used to take a lot of sites live that way. Of course, email, things of that nature. But this was us me working with maybe one or two developers, and one or two developers were working on the project at a time. When we started to get into Drupal development and sell more large scale projects and more media start coming into the web where people were doing different type of sites, uh, then it became a little more difficult, and we started learning about different uh, other tools where these were projects that were more agile and could change over time and had multiple developers working on it. And so I started using other tools like Jira to create tickets, and then those tickets um, where it would be linked up where developers were putting code in Bitbucket, and then we were doing documentation in Confluence, or even using Assembler or Unphoto as a place where I could manage these projects. These new tools start becoming part of my toolkit. And then GitHub, of course, start popping up as just a repository. And I know they start having places where you could track issues and things of that nature. I previously worked in different places where I did development within marketing departments. And within those departments, we had to use another set of tools to manage. These were the tools that I had to manage projects with inside of marketing departments. A tool like Rike, Asana, Monday.com. These are all great tools and have pros and cons, but specifically when it becomes to a large scale web project or multiple developers, these don't fit the need because most of these platforms are focused on the marketing side and campaign driven. So when you want to talk back to where the code is or that, these platforms don't support that as heavily. So I can't reference back to code as easily in Rike as I could in Jira, let's say. With these tools, I can still create a bug or file a request or do a help request. And we need a change on this website. You can do that. But when it became multiple developers and we were dealing with code and trying to build a software and multiple people had to get into the tool, these did not fit that need. So, what's the difference with GitLab? I think with GitLab, one of it is it's an all-in-one platform. So, where Confluence, Jira, and Bitbucket and Atlassian Suite, you have three different platforms. Here, all of that is in one place. And some of the pros to that is like it's one price. So hey, I have these three things in different departments. We've had to deal with budget for. Okay, what's the for right? Then we got another budget for Jira. Then I got another line item where I got to make sure Bitbucket. And then even with Atlassian, although that might be one bill, you have to then make sure everybody has the same permission. So like I might be clicking on the issue, it opens up Bitbucket, but I don't have permissions to that, or I send that to get feedback, and that person doesn't have permissions. So as a project manager, you're managing permissions and things like that. So GitLab allows you to do everything in one place: task management, code repository, merge request, documentation, uh, all in one place, which is very cool. So, getting into the features and functionality of a GitLab, uh, you let's look at some of the GitLab terms, right? That we'll look at groups. This is the high level. Some people look at this as an organization, but the highest level is groups, and then projects, which are like any repository, like a code base. For every code base is a project. Within projects, you have issues specific to that project. EPICS, very familiar term in the agile space. If you've used Jira, a bucket of issues, a feature that has multiple issues that people will be working on over a set amount of time. Epics, milestones, it gives you the ability to have time-based situations, whether that's a sprint, whether that's a certain initiative, whether that's quarterly. You have these milestone elements that you can use. Iterations is similar, time-based, and we'll get deeper into that. Labels, similar to tags, very powerful as we create things like boards. If you're familiar with Kanban, then different things that you may see in Trello, you can create those same type of boards here in GitLab. And then roadmaps, very powerful tool, combining epics and milestones, and being able to give some road mapping to different projects. So if we're looking at groups, this is a chart. So an organization, you have groups to manage one or more related projects at the same time. For very large organizations, you could also have subgroups. Under groups, you have projects. Again, the project is a repository, is a code base specific for that project. You may have a website and an app. The website is one project, the app is another. Issues are anything. So the issue is like a place where everything starts, right? It's like the issue is any question somebody has. It's a bug. It's something that a developer needs to go do. Issue. Then under issues or within an issue, people can comment. Different participants or members of the group or the project are part of are participants that can be a part of the issue. You can assign people to the issue, and then other people can make comments. You can actually assign multiple people to a particular issue as well. And then looking at epics, because again, it's issues, epics, and milestones. And so epic is something where I bucket a lot of features. I know things that we've outlined that we want to get done for a particular amount of time during a particular time. Um, I would group that as an epic, and then within the epic, an epic can have child epics as well. But then under epics, you have certain issues. The epic is a group level item, so one epic could have issues from multiple projects. So you see, this is two issues from project one, and then one additional issue to project two. So you can have that under the epic. This is me looking at a group example. As you can see, the organization is called Houston Hoopers, and we have three projects: the Houston Hoopers Android app, the Houston Hoopers iOS app, and HoustonHoopers.com. And so for each one of those would be different projects under the group Houston Hoopers. And then as we look a little bit deeper into the actual iOS app, if you look to the side, you can see now that I'm within a project, I can look at project information, which shows me like the members and the labels that are available. Repository, which would be the code base. Then I can look at any issues associated with the app, any merge requests that are for the app. I can look at my CI/CD, my continuous integration, and all of that information there, which would show as I do deployments, any security, the outline of the deployments, all the information about a project. I can get that in that sidebar once I get to the project level. Taking a deeper look at issues. So in here, the thing I like about the issue tracking in GitLab, again, it's all tied in. So I put my title, and they have these things, description templates. So in the code base, I could create like a template of what type of description I want, whether that's in the title. Then you can also have, the description like a filled in. So like this right here that you see on the screen, they could have a template just like that, where every new issue you can have it start there. It uses Markdown. You can have checkboxes within an issue, which are like to-dos, and then you can easily reference an issue by using like the hash mark, and then merge request has its own code, so you can easily reference merge request, issues, epics, all from the issue description body. You can drag images into the body. You can upload images. You can copy and paste from anywhere, and quickly bring images into the description. You can assign it to anyone, add to the epic, add a certain milestone label, all of that within a issue. So again, issues are like the base level task, and then being able to assign them out and communicate. The epic, again, it's a group thing. It's a group level, and then within the epic, you can have different issues. One thing I noticed in certain versions, if you want to have a child epic, you need to make a issue under the epic first, and then you can promote an issue up to an epic. So it closes, and when you do that, it closes the issue. So the issue will be marked as closed, and then the epic will be created. If you can do that from any issue, but I noticed if you create an issue under an epic and then promote that issue, that's how you can create a child epic. If you don't have the ability to hit add and add epic, that was a way that I was able to do that. You can also, rearrange and put times. Again, we'll see that the time actually plays a lot of part when you get to the roadmaps. And those times can also inherit from times within the issues as well. Um, so looking at milestones, the milestones again is a time block. So what I've done or how I use them, I do what we call phases, which are like 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, usually monthly, a monthly milestone. And then I'll do what they also have iterations. So the milestone, again, is at a group level. So, but the thing I like about it, you can have a detailed milestone page that gives you, or it gets created by default. So any issues within that milestone will show up on a burn down and a burn up chart. You can see all of them listed out. You can get a quick percentage of where how many issues are open within that milestone, how many merge requests are open within that milestone. So it's tracking both issues and merge requests for a particular period of time. I'm currently, like I said, I'm using. Some people use them as you can do sprints. You can do a sprint with the milestone. I've seen people use iterations. The down part of iteration is that uh, it's doing just issues. So I do weekly. I'm doing weekly sprints in a sense, or weekly iterations, um, using the iterations functionality, and then for my phases, which are like 4 to 5 of those iterations, I'm using milestones. And then again, when you get to uh, roadmaps, you're able to you're able to lay across, and we'll look at it 1 second. Let me go first and tell you a little bit about labels, which are powerful. So the labels help categorize issues and epics and merge requests. You can use them scoped so that like you can have you need something in a workflow, like it needs to be in progress, blocked, in review, and then complete it, but it can only be one. Or if you have priority 1, 2, 3, you can create scope labels, and then the labels are used. And the label, one real quick on labels, there you can have group wide labels, and you can have project wide labels. And the project labels can be promoted at any time to group labels, but you could have an instance where you only want certain labels for this particular project. But if you're managing another project, maybe you don't need that set of labels. So those would be project specific. But if you had more of like a global group level or at your organization, you had these standard sets of labels that any project would use, then they would be group labels. And then if you go to boards, you can create these boards based off of different criteria. So it could be based off the label, and so you can create a list. So right now you have 3 lists, open and closed. They're like default lists that you could turn closed on or off. Then you can turn either one of them off. Um, for sure closed. But then you can add additional lists. So you may have a team list that you create a list basically of every assignee is a list. So every member So you can go through the list and just create a list for every person on your team, and you can see what's in their queue. Then you can also create a like label specific list. So it might be what I mentioned: in progress, blocked, in review. Uh, so you can do this at the issues for issues, and you can do this for epics. Is create boards, and you can create multiple boards, and then even within those boards, you can add different search and filter criteria. So you could have like an all that showed all your issues that were in progress, blocked, or in review. And then you maybe want to just filter that down by what are the back end issues, and then you can have, if you have a back end label on your issues, then you can filter down and just see that same structure just with the back end issues. You could do the same thing, and then but if you wanted to save that type of view, you can create a new list with those same in review, blocked, in progress, call backend, and then also have everything scoped to the label of backend as well. So you could do that and then you can also scope the entire thing by a particular milestone. So maybe I only want to show my current milestone, which is phase 9, on this board. Back to epics and milestones, able to give you that on a roadmap. So on the left hand side, you have a list of epics. On the right, if you see this 14.3, and these are points of the milestone. So you can see from the roadmap, this is what we'll be working on, and this is when different releases. So if I'm looking at this quickly, these I can see that this epic and this epic, that's going to be done in 14.3. That's the plan. That's the end of that. I know that there's going to be work done on this epic, but it looks like it'll be overlapping into 14.4. So I can really quickly show and create a Gantt chart of work that we plan on doing, and like milestones or touch points of when that work will be completed using the roadmaps feature. Uh, so cool. Real quick, I'll go into a little bit of use cases, examples, not to go into the code. I don't think that's what we'll do today. But I want to just, from what we said, draw that picture of how you can use this or how I'm using it, and then give you an example of how you may be able to use it. So just talking through it. Group is really what this is our client name. We have a project. We have the main platform we're creating. We have a project for our help docs, and then we have a different static website called the marketing library that we have as an additional project. Issues, or I use issues for any ideas that come up during meetings or that we know from our discovery that we know we need to create. I'll just start it off with the issue. If there's a specific task we want to create, installing something, configuring something, adding this, it's a task using the issue. If there's a request, a client, hey, we want this, use the issue. If the QA team finds a bug, create an issue. I may start a particular issue as a user story, and then it may get promoted to an epic. Or if I have a feature that I know off top that is going to be multiple issues, it seems like it's definitely going to be bigger issue. I may create an epic. And this is particular if we've done some pre-planning or we know there's going to be a feature or something that has been required. Let's go to the epic level. Milestones, again, that's a 4-week phase. I'm doing phases because I'm able to break down that phases, looking at it from like a monthly. Because right now we're actually doing quarterly engagements, and then in those quarterly engagements, you usually have about 3 months. So I'm doing um, about 3 phases an engagement. And in those 3 phases, they're like 4 to 5 weeks apiece. And so we're able to weekly have iterations. And then like at the end of each phase, it's kind of like, okay, bam, we've delivered a good chunk of work. So I might pull out about three to four, usually about 3 big epics per phase. And then through each iteration or weekly, we're kind of iterating or building up on those different epics that we've outlined for the phase. And then for the labels, I'm using labels for different work types. So like back end, front end. I'm using the MRs. We're using them for like MR statuses. So like in review, needs review, like QA needs review, dev needs review. So we're using MR statuses, then have certain epic types. I've used the SOW. Is it something I've used to group epics just so I know like this is maybe helping to plan on the business development side of like here's the work that I know we'll be needing that we didn't outline in this SOW. Here's the work that we have in this SOW so that we can track it against just our deliverables to make sure that we're all on the same page and the work that we all expect is getting done, is supposed to get done, is getting done. So I'm using it there. I started at the beginning to kind of group the epics by like the type of functionality it was. It's all of this has been fluid for me too, of like just figuring out the best way to work. On the boards, I created again Epic. I did like by phase. So like I told you, I was doing each phases, so I can look at my Epic boards and move certain epics through the phases. This helps me with planning uh, the issues. So I have like a front end board, a back end board, a DevOps board, design board. I have a team board that I can look at from issues. And then I have something I call planning, where I use it to like move issues from the backlog to like doing requirements gathering or things that need review. And I just set up the board to help me easily drag things to different states, because with the boards, as you drag them, they go to different states. So meaning they can go from in review to, I mean, go from in progress to in review just by dragging it over in the board. Because I'm saying that I want to just look at the board again. Like I can drag anything I drag from deliverable to closed is gonna remove the deliverable tag and now close it actually. Or I move deliverable back to open, it would remove the deliverable tag. So boards has been very powerful and a useful tool that I've used in GitLab. So I want to say thank you again. This was issues, epics, and milestones using GitLab to manage projects. Keep projects on track. And yeah, that's GitLab.